I just want to, it's an interesting thing. Somebody called me today. He listened to the shir. He's not from this country, but he listened to the shir that we were given these days about doctors. And I mentioned that the logo of the doctor is the snake on a stick that corresponds with the Nachash, and they looked at the Nachash and the Cheshes. So he told me that his grandfather was one of the founders of Hatzalah in Crown Heights. I knew where his grandfather was very well. And when they were making Hatzalah logos in Crown Heights, so they sent into the Rebbe a logo with the snake on the stick, you know, like the doctors have. And he told me the Rebbe told his grandfather to take it off. I mean, not to use it. Which is interesting. But he told me the Rebbe told it to his grandfathers. He said it has to do with Avodah Zarah. I don't know. I'm just telling you. The snake on the stick. Even though it's a pasuk in Chumash, but I don't know. There's a lot of. There are many things. There are many things that the Rebbe had a different look. I mentioned this in the past. If you ask somebody today, what are the Olympics? Anybody will tell you the Olympics are competition, a sports competition between countries. That's all it is, right? Nobody looks at it as anything else but that. So in 1984, I mentioned this a number of times. In 1984, the other Rabbi Shusterman, the other side of town, Rabbi Gershon Shusterman, he lost his wife that year, and they asked him to speak at the Neshei Chabad convention. Every year after Shavuos, they make a Neshei Chabad convention, or Shavuos time. They make a Neshei Chabad convention. And he thought that year were the Olympics in LA, 1984. So he made a whole speech, and the thrust of his speech basically was the lessons you learn out for Yiddishkeit from the Olympics. Then there was a magazine called the Yiddish Shehem, a women's magazine. It's half Yiddish, half English. But every article that went into that magazine was edited by the Rebbe. So they wanted to put his speech into the Neshei Chabad, Yiddish Shehem. Anyway, so they wrote up the speech and they sent it into the Rebbe. 90% of the speech was all about the Olympics. So the Rebbe answered, he told me this himself, the Rebbe answered him, they answered the Yiddish Shehem. He said, Yedum Meforsim, that the Olympics are rooted in Avodah Zarah, take out the whole thing about the Olympics. So instead of having a long speech, his speech was like this instead of this. But the Rebbe said, look, Olympics originated in Avodah Zarah, it's Avodah Zarah, that's it. Today it's not looked at it that way, but that's what it is. Okay, anyway, let's get one.
In terms of halacha, if that's the case, something is rooted in Avodah Zarah, but nowadays you don't practice it because...
But you see from the Rebbe that the Olympics is a big chiddush, but you see that even though nowadays nobody connects the Olympics with the Greek gods, I mean, they have the torch, but even that is looked at as a symbolic thing, you know, nothing to do with the Greek gods and all that stuff. Okay, so everybody, people that have money think they're God, people that are smart think they're God, everybody thinks they're God. What's the big deal? Okay, anyway, so coming back to this. Okay, so we were learning, yesterday we were discussing about taking medications, if they're not kosher, if you could take them, not take them. So we're discussing that if you swallow, by the way, in halacha there's a concept of bal nefesh yachmer not to take it, but they bring down, this a lot of poskim can bring down, that if you wrap it in something, let's say you have a non-kosher capsule. So there are opinions in halacha that say the capsule itself, if it's gelatin capsule, the capsule itself is not edible for dogs. So they want to say it's not even food. So it's not even that you're eating non-kosher food. And the medication inside is wrapped in it. So in other words, what happens if you have, let's say, a non-kosher pill? Okay? So halachically you're allowed to swallow it as is, like we learned yesterday, because it's not called eating. But if you wrap it into something, let's say you wrap it into a little piece of napkin, and you swallow it that way, then for sure, according to all opinions, there's no issue with it. because then it's not even going down your throat. It's not even touching your throat. The paper's touching your throat. Or to wrap it in a little piece of leather, whatever it would be. That's not halacha. We're talking halacha now. Halacha, like yesterday, we're discussing a food pipe. Is that aluminum foil? I told you, all of your brilliant ideas, you should try. And then you will report back to us, the findings of your research.
I don't think he's going to be reporting back to us.
I tried it, but I passed out, so I don't remember what happened.
Okay, good. Okay, anyway, what?
Same applies to supplements also and vitamins?
We spoke about that yesterday. Supplements that somebody must take, let's say a doctor says you need to take them, then yes, the same thing applies. Just taking vitamins for the fun of it or whatever, and it's possible to get kosher ones, then you should. But I'll give you an example. Rabbi Yosef Feinstein mentioned this in the past. Rabbi Yosef Feinstein, somebody asked Rabbi Yosef Feinstein, years ago the iron pills were actually from the liver of an animal. They made it into a pill, okay? So again, you're swallowing it, you're not eating it, so it's not a question of kosher or not. But they asked him, do you have to wait 6 hours after that pill to eat milk? Because if it's a liver pill, it's an iron pill, but it's made out of liver, so there's meat in the pill that you're swallowing. So they asked him, his response, he has a tshuva about this. They asked him if you have to wait 6 hours. He says no, because it's not, you didn't eat it. It's not eating. Both reasons don't apply, but what? No, the reason that... Yeah, that's only one reason. Second reason, digested in the stomach. No. But it's not called eating. It's not... if somebody would swallow chicken soup without chewing it at all, so there's no problem getting stuck in the teeth, but you still have the problem of the absorption in the stomach. That takes 6 hours to digest. Okay, anyway. Okay, that we said. Now, another interesting medical question is like this. Can a woman go to a male doctor, and can a male doctor treat a woman? Or can a woman go to a male doctor? Can a female patient go to a male doctor? In other words, can you go to a doctor of the opposite gender? So there are certain sects of Judaism that are very strict about it. They don't have women going to men, men going to women doctors. But there's a letter from the Rebbe that they were never makbid about this, and there's no problem with a woman going to a male doctor, a male going to a female doctor. There's no problem. Even though they're going to be touching them and whatever it is, but nevertheless, it's called this. It's done in a way of professionalism. It's not the way of love or romantic touching. So then, halachically, it would be allowed. The same thing you have. I'm not saying you should do it, but can a man go to a woman hairstylist to cut their hair, or can a woman go to a male go to a woman? Well, either way. So again, halachically, it's not an issue because it's all done professionally. But again, people have to know when they could do. What? I'm saying a woman could go to a male gynecologist. I'm talking halachic. A lot of women today are not comfortable going to a male gynecologist. But years ago, in my times, there were very, very few women gynecologists. Now there's a lot. 50 years ago, there were very few female doctors, b'chlal, and definitely gynecologists. So then it was a rarity, But you have to be careful, even if you go to a doctor of the opposite gender, you have to be careful with the dinim of yichud. You can't be alone in the room, especially if there's nobody in the office that can come in at any given moment. Because then you have an issue with yichud. You can't be alone in a room with a man or a woman and a man. A man and a woman can't be alone in a room unless if there people can come in during the day. But sometimes you have this, people have after hour doctor's office hours, after hours, at night for people to come, then if you have a woman going to a male doctor and there's nobody else in the office, then you have a big shaila of yichud. So then she would have to go with either one of her kids or a husband or something like that. Otherwise, there's a din of yichud. What? Chiropractor, again, halachically is fine.
A woman that covers her hair, you said it's okay to get a haircut from a male?
Well, I didn't say that. I did not say it. I said a man can go to a woman.
You said women can get a haircut from a man.
I didn't say. I said about man going to a woman. But halachically, yeah. Technically, a woman can go to a hairstylist to cut her hair. Even,
Not a doctor. If it's a doctor,
what's the difference between a doctor? A doctor is because it's professional. So therefore, there's no what's called that a chiba. It's not in a way of emotional feelings. So the same thing with this. I'm not saying it's a mitzvah. They'll go to the opposite gender hairstylist, but halachically, there's nothing. Halachically, you can go. You have to be careful with yichud though.
If you're in an environment.
But let me tell you something else. Even today, because of all the lawsuits that people did, generally speaking, especially a gynecologist, will always, even if he's checking a patient, he will ask a nurse to come into the room because they're afraid of lawsuits. Just some people like to sue. It's just the in thing today. It's good business.
I advise all my...
You advise everybody to sue?
No, all my doctors, I tell them. They're allowed to be
I thought you advised them to sue.
No.
What?
And so any professional capacity, whether it's a teacher, a piano teacher, or...
As long as there's no yichud.
As long as there's no yichud, it's fine.
Halachically, it's fine. I'm not saying that's what people should mahadar to do, but halachically, is it okay to go to a professional person of the opposite gender? Yeah. I don't know, I don't think it would be proper for a man to go to get a body massage by a woman or vice versa. I mean, that's a different story already. What?
If it's not professional, if someone's working in the office, someone gets a cut, would a man assist a woman in bandaging?
Again, halachically, yes. What's the profession about putting on a bandage? Again, you have all these doctors, Hatzalah, all these things. In New York, they started a women's Hatzalah. It's a big controversy going on. The Rabbanim were against it, and it was a very interesting controversy.
What's the objection?
Huh?
What's the objection?
Why there are a lot of practical reasons, not halachic reasons. Practical reasons. Because if a man, I'll tell you what they were saying, one of the things they were saying. If a man gets Hatzalah call, he's out the door. A woman has to put on her makeup and she has to get dressed and I'm not joking. That was one of the big things they were saying. It would take much longer to get a woman. And no, it was only for women, by the way. It's women, Hatzalah members for women. Whatever. There's a lot of issues with that. What?
Did you have a female vocal coach?
No.
What's the objection?
Because that's erva already.
That's it.
Erva is not, you can't, a professional, can a male have a female singing coach? So over there it's erva. Erva doesn't help with all these professional stuff. It's erva. It's erva.
The hairstylist also would be there if a woman was professional.
Yeah, but it's different type of erva that they're just cutting the hair. It's not... Okay.